In this video, we're going to walk through an example of using the AC method when factoring. I call this the AC method because if this is your A coefficient, your B coefficient, and your C coefficient, I use the method where I take the A value times the C value. So when I take 35 times a negative 81, I get negative 2,835. So you want to take your A times your C, and that's where this AC method comes from. Now, this is where it's a little tricky, not necessarily tricky, but time consuming. Because this is such a large number, there's a lot of combinations to check. But what essentially you're doing is you're trying to find the combination that when I multiply, I get negative 2,835, but when I add the two numbers together, I get the 18 in the middle. So after doing some checking, I find that if I take negative 45 times a positive 63, when I multiply those, that gives me negative 2,835. But when I add them together, I get positive 18. So once you find the combination, and this one's a little tricky, like I said, because it's a big number and there's a lot of combinations. Usually the number isn't this big. But you want to take that combination that you found and use that to replace your value of B. So we're going to do a substitution. So I'm going to just bring down 35x squared. But then I'm going to replace 18x with negative 45x plus 63x. And then I'll bring down the 81. So all I did at this point is I just rewrote positive 18 with the combination that I found on the right. Now, if you don't use the right combination, this isn't going to work. That's why it's really important to find a combination that multiplies to get you the A times C, but will add to give you the value of B. Once you get the combination, then from here it's easy. Then you're going to use the grouping method. So I'm going to look at these first two terms and the second two terms separately. When I look at the first two terms, what they have in common is 5 and an x. So I'm going to pull out 5x, and what would be left over would be 7x minus 9. Now, for the grouping method to work, you have to have the same set of parentheses over here. These two have to be the same. So now I have to ask myself, what do I need to pull out of the second set of numbers here, or the second set of terms, so that when I pull it out and factor it out, I'm left with 7x minus 9. Well, that would be, when I pull that out, a plus 9. And I can check it. If you want to make sure you got it, 9 times 7x would give me 63x, and 9 times negative 9 would give me negative 81. Okay, now, because we've set this up so these two parentheses are exactly the same, I have 7x minus 9 in common, and what's left over would be 5x plus 9. So that's what's going to go in the second set of parentheses. So now we know that we have this completely factored because there are no pluses and minuses on the outside of parentheses. Everything is inside parentheses. I have one term multiplied by another term. And then you can use the FOIL method if you want to check it to make sure you got it right. So you would take 7x times 5x, and I would get 35x squared. I would take 7x times 9, and that would give me 63x. I would take negative 9 times 5x. That gives me minus 45x. and then I would take negative 9 times positive 9 to get negative 81. And when I combine those two like terms in the middle, I'll end up with 35x squared plus 18x minus 81. So it works. We check. So this would be our final answer right here, 7x minus 9